Thanks for pressing play on this video filled with unusual facts. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button so you never miss another video and get notifications on the next video upload full of unusual facts. Many people do enjoy exploring creepy locations inspired by urban legends or historical events. And some of those places just look downright creepy. Some of those places are so intriguing, and today we've got 15 of the creepiest places in the world. So turn all your lights on, get ready for the hair to raise on your neck. Like this video, send it to your friends, subscribe to our channel, and never miss another video filled with unusual facts. Make sure you watch this video all the way to the end because it helps us know what you like, and that way we'll produce more of that right here on Unusual Facts. Here's creepy location number 15, Chernobyl and PRIPYAT, Ukraine. Though this was the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history, it didn't feel that weird standing outside reactor number 4. That's because radiation is a silent killer, and sure enough, the Geiger counter was reading levels dozens of times higher than normal. The true creep only sets in when you visit the nearby deserted city of PRIPYAT. Residents had just hours to leave, abandoning everything, including their pets. A quarter century later, the city is a post-apocalyptic nuclear nightmare. Dead silence. School books flapping in the wind. Buildings cracking with time. Since everything inside the 30-kilometer zone of alienation is considered nuclear waste, there they will remain, including this haunting doll, one of many to be found in an eerily silent school. Number 14. San Franciscan Monastery, Peru. The hip bone may indeed be connected to the thigh bone, but underneath the 17th century San Franciscan monastery in the Peruvian capital of Lima, it is connected to other bones too. Beneath the impressive monastery lie a series of narrow catacombs. With the low ceilings, you'll want to watch your head too. Old graveyards and cemeteries are creepy at the best of times. Père Lachaise gets bonus points for its long history. The deathly clutter of mausoleums, the Gothic architecture, and occasional weirdness like spooky graffiti, burnt offerings, or awful angsty poetry visitors leave to honor Jim Morrison and Oscar Wilde. Number 12. The Killing Fields, Cambodia. There is creepy, and then there is spooky, and then there's just plain evil. Nothing makes your hair stand up, your throat parch, your nerves collapse, and your faith in humanity shatter like the physical sight of genocide. And yet, places like Cambodia's Killing Fields, Auschwitz, and the Kigali Genocide Memorial Center in Rwanda are vital to understand the horrors of the past and make sure they never happen again. It is beyond comprehension to picture murdered skulls piled 30 feet high or pools of human ashes. It is also beyond the tone of this story. And yet, sites like the Killing Fields, Auschwitz, and Kigali continue to draw attention to historical acts of genocide, the importance that travelers acknowledge them, and the fact that even today the horror of mass murder continues to exist. Number 11. Stone Town, Zanzibar. By day, Stone Town feels wonderfully exotic. A maze of narrow alleys, mosques, beautifully carved large wooden doors. There's a glorious sense of Parisian, African, Indian, and European history. A city scrubbed in the fortunes of the wealthy Sultan of Oman. Wait until nightfall. Now you can really feel Stone Town's dark, seedy past, when the city functioned as a sordid center of slaving, piracy, and smuggling. Blackened buildings, cracked cobblestone, darting shadows in the maze of alleys. It's enough to spook even the most skeptical imagination. Vampires don't exist, but if they did, they'd holiday in Stone Town. Number 10. LAMANAI Mayan Ruins, Belize. Most ancient ruins up the creep factor, which is why they frequently feature in horror movies. Some Mayan ruins have the added bonus of having been the setting for human sacrifice. It is uncertain if human sacrifices took place here in LAMANAI as it did in other Mayan temples, although bloodletting sacrifices almost certainly did. Walk up the blackened, cracked stairs, soak up the mystery, and wallow in silence so spooky it could break your fall. Number 9. Chuuk Lagoon, New Guinea. In a very large area in the sea just north of New Guinea, an epic battle raged. In February of 1944, the U.S. Navy launched a full-scale attack on the Imperial Japanese Army dubbed Operation Hailstone. It was one of the most brutal fights the Pacific has seen, and thousands of soldiers, weapons, and war machinery fell to the cold depths below. There they have stayed, untouched for nearly 70 years. Number 8. Griffith Park Zoo, Los Angeles, California. In Griffith Park Zoo, you will find the old abandoned remains of the LA County Zoo. The city decided to leave the remnants standing rather than tearing them down as sort of a museum. The old zoo is now just a desolate place of old rotting cages and buildings. Number 7. The largest mass cannibal grave, Germany. While digging around the site of a 7,000-year-old village called Herxheim, Dr. Bruno Bulliston uncovered a human bone. While carefully digging the bone, they found another from another body. They found more and more until a total of 500 bodies were uncovered. All of the bones had human teeth marks in them and scrape marks from tools used to scrape meat off. The bones were also broken apart, and the marrow was scraped out to be eaten. Number 6. The Tomb of Sunken Skulls, Sweden. When scientists were excavating a prehistoric dry lake bed in Motala, Sweden, they uncovered something nobody was expecting. A giant stone-sealed structure. Within the structure, they found animal bones, stone tools, and 8,000-year-old skulls from 10 people. The skulls ranged from children to elderly. One skull stood out, and upon further investigation, they found that one skull was embedded with fragments of another human skull inside the cranium. Number 5. The Cincinnati subway system in Ohio, USA. Cincinnati was booming in the early 1900s and required a better public transit system. Officials opted for a $12 million subway system under the ground, but ran out of money after about $6 million was spent. Thus, the project never was finished, and underneath the city lies abandoned tunnels and tracks with no trains. Number 4. Cagayan Burial Caves, Philippines. Loggers in the northern Philippines were scaling down a mountain when they stumbled on a cave system. When they entered, their jaws dropped as they saw hundreds of skulls and bones scattered about. They found big, walnut-like coffins that contained the mummified bodies of the Abaloy people. Number 3. Muynak, Uzbekistan. In Muynak, you will find dozens of ships stranded in the middle of what looks like a massive desert. In fact, Muynak used to be a very popular shipping port, but over the years, the fourth largest lake in the world simply dried up, leaving the steel remains. The Russian government diverted all the water feeding the lake, so now it sits as dry as a ship graveyard in the middle of nowhere. Number 2. The Bone Church of KUTNA, HORA, Czech Republic. In the 13th century, an abbot brought sand from Jerusalem back to Bohemia and sprinkled it over the monastery's graveyard. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be buried there, and it wasn't long before space ran out. For centuries, monks collected and stored human remains until a local wood carver was hired to get creative with the surplus skeletons. Using the bones of some 40,000 people, he created wall art, columns, even a chandelier made with every bone in the human body. Today, you can visit the church, marvel at the morbid creativity of its contents, and the extensive uses of the human body. The Glore Psychiatric Museum, Missouri, USA. George Glore opened his psychiatric ward in the 60s for his most deranged and insane patients. Now, it is a museum with life-size reproductions of the actual practices used at the time. Some are absolutely terrifying, while others are extremely obscure. The museum is lined with artwork created by the patients themselves. You will see art from the most sophisticated to the absolutely insane. Check our video catalog for any hidden gems you may not have seen yet, and subscribe to Unusual Facts so you never miss another video filled with unusual facts.